My name's Stephanie. I'm a 5th grade reading teacher at Rise. Go Rise. Today I'm going to show you how to take an objective and turn it into an assessment. So my objective for tomorrow is identify how a character feels about another character using textual evidence. And we're going to do this with a story called Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes. So what I do every time I have my SMART name and I turn it into assessment is I use my handy dandy assessment criteria. Thank you, Team 101. I still have mine from 5 years ago. So I'm just going to work through this list and make sure that the assessment that I create for my kiddos acknowledges all 4 of these components. So the first thing I have to do is I have to ask myself, is it going to be a product or a performance? And in this case, I think it's going to be a product because it's going to be something that I'm going to want to hold in my hands and really take the time to look through. It's going to be something they need to create. And I think I'm actually going to have my students create a T-chart. Yeah, I think that'll be good because then it'll be like word to describe character, evidence, and a T-chart works great for that. The next thing is I have to make sure that my assessment requires students to show mastery. So I think in order to do this, they're going to have to come up with a word totally on their own to describe what the character's feeling, and then they're also going to have to find probably like 2 or 3 pieces of evidence to support that word. So that will definitely show mastery of my objective. The next thing I have to do is I have to make sure that my assessment requires students to independently transfer the skill or knowledge. And this is super important, and I think this is where it's easy to get tripped up if you really don't think about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the story Thank You Ma'am, which has 2 great characters in it. And I am going to think aloud, and I'm going to walk students through how a good reader figures out how one character feels about another. So I'm going to model for them how Miss Luella Bates Washington feels about the boy in the story. His name is Roger. So I'm going to walk them through them and open up my brain and show them all that. I'm going to have them do that process, but with Roger. And they're not going to have any information from me about Roger. They're going to have to do it completely independently and transfer the skills I taught them when they're thinking about Roger. So that'll be good. And then next it needs to list the specific question to be asked. So I need to make sure that I ask a super specific question that's going to get them to identify how the character feels and use evidence. Okay, so let's try this. In the text, and I'm thinking, how does Roger, sorry, my handwriting's awful. How does Roger, and I'm going to say feel, because that's what the objective states. How does Roger feel about Miss Washington? Now, maybe in college this would be enough, but for middle school this is not going to be enough. I'm going to have to really flesh this out for the kids. I know that I want them to do a product. This isn't going to be like a discussion or any sort of performance. This is going to be a product. So I probably actually need to say what kind of product I want. I don't want them to just answer the question in paragraph form. I actually want them to use a T-chart to organize your thinking. And I have already taught my kids what a T-chart is, so they know how to organize their thoughts in that way. And the next thing I think I need to spell out is I really want to get at this mastery piece, and I only can really get at this without forcing them to provide evidence. So I think I'm also going to create a note that they need to use. I think for this story, there's really 2 great pieces of evidence I'd like them to pick out. So use 2 pieces of evidence. And this is cool too because this is very test prep friendly. This is a lot of times how the NJ Ask will actually write out a question too. So this will be good.